pretty much seeing you're pretty much breaking even that week. So it's all a matter of how much do you want to race or do you want to train. You know, maybe you don't run your kids in that Wednesday meet, maybe you do. Maybe you have them do a tempo run that day. It's all kind of up to what you want to choose to do. Max. You know, I like to say you try to get your max up during the summertime. That's what it's there for. All right? And then your intensity gradually increases all the way to the end. It doesn't really scale back down. It just goes all the way back up to the end. The issue is you don't really want to be increasing both at the same time. That means you're trying to amp the volume and amp the intensity. That's where you're going to get some issues. So if we're looking at this thing right here, this is actually our summer training program at a very bunch of different levels of kids. So you can see how we kind of bring it up. And we peak in August, and then the season starts. I actually bring it slightly down. The scale's all messed up, so it looks like I'm bringing them down a lot more than I actually am. And you can see that the intensity is arbitrary, and it's just kind of generally coming up as I go along. You know, and that's something I just kind of do as I individually go along. I'll add more speed workouts as we go through, my microcycle routines as I go through. That's kind of what we're doing there. The other thing that we're going to take a look at is, what I like to do is I like to go 2 weeks high, 1 week low. And it kind of falls into like a larger recovery cycle. So you build up, you go 2 weeks high, 1 week low, 2 weeks high, 1 week low, and you allow yourself to kind of recover during that week. Now what else you can also do is you can add a lot of intensity in that week. It's a slightly different stressor. You know, as long as you're good about not overloading it, you can get more intensity work during that 1 week down. The issue is, you guys know, when do all your kids get hurt? Right before the big meet, right? Which is in October, right? All right? That's about where, if you look, you actually kind of put this out there, you can see, right on my chart, that's about where it's hit, right where the volume's peaking and right where intensity starts crossing. I know right in there, end of September, early October, that's where I'm going to need to be real careful with my kids. You know? And you would get that without this, you would just pick it up through experience. All right, so we go back and look at this summer base phase again. You can kind of break it up. And it's just doing the same thing, the 10% increase all the way through. You know, you give them kind of a week, 2 weeks high, 1 week low, 2 weeks high, 1 week low, 2 weeks high, 1 week low. You can do it this way as well. You know, it's just a little bit higher risk. The other thing you need to look at is how are you going to stress your kids over the yearly stress and recovery cycle. Most of you as high school coaches, even collegiate coaches, you have 3 things you need to peak for. You know, do you emphasize all 3 of those seasons? Do you back off one of those seasons? Do you train through one of those seasons? You know, can you effectively peak 3 times? I mean, you can. You get good success doing it 3 times. You know, you just have to be realistic at what you're doing. I will tell you one thing. In high school track and field, all those events are mid-distance events. 3200 is not a long-distance event. All right, it's mid-distance. So what you can actually do is you only need to back off a couple days prior. So it's not like you need to do a big, massive drop in volume that whole 2 or 3 weeks left up. You can get good results by backing off 2, 3 days, maybe 4 days prior, and that's about it. You know? So as a coach, you kind of decide what season do you emphasize. Do you build in transition time between the seasons? I always like to give my kids a little time off just to kind of mentally kind of rejuvenate themselves, you know, cross-training, stuff like that. You know, it's all things that you'll find to experience can you do or not do. You know, you might find that indoor, for me when I was at Mount Hebron, it was a lot easier for me to win an indoor state championship than it was for me to win an outdoor state championship. So some years we sometimes emphasized indoor a little bit more than we would outdoor. You know, just the way we kind of went for it. Oh. So this is the whole entire year that you're looking at here in terms of volume. I'm keeping that same volume where you're at, not where you want to be. So if you're only running a 2-mile time trial and then someone runs a 10-minute time trial, I know his DVO2 is roughly about 115. So I want to base it all off 115. You know, later in the season, as I get into that, if I want to start doing goal pace training, I might deviate from that, but it's not going to be too far off from where they're at. You can use Jack Daniels, but I also use minutes. All right. The bigger thing here is your adaptations. You can go run 10 miles, but the adaptations that are happening to make you faster are happening as a result of time. So if we look at, if you go and send 2 kids out for 70 minutes, you know, if you did a JV high school girl run for 70 minutes, I don't know what I was thinking. Pretty impressive. But the boy will only have covered 10 miles. The girl, on a good day, might cover 6 or 7 miles, but they both got the same anatomical adaptations. Just because he ran 10 miles doesn't mean he got any more than that girl. They got both the same benefit from that workout. All right? The weekly volume, you might be able to push it up to 25%. But if you get too high in mileage, you might be running a marathon at that point. AT runs, just kind of like a hard long run that we do. I gauge around 15%. Recovery runs will be between 10 to 15%, depending on how I feel my kids are at. This is all based off weekly mileage, and then I convert it to minutes when I give it to the kids. Recovery runs, I fill out. Workouts are typically 8% of weekly volume. The issue there is on the slower ones, like your intervals, on your lactic threshold intervals, tempo runs, 8%. If you're doing all-out 200s, I would not do. But what you need to realize is if you're doing something high intensity or you have a meet that day, a proper warm-up is going to wake up the muscular system, the nervous system, the cardiovascular system, the circulatory system, respiratory system, and every energy-producing process in the whole time. More importantly, it shuts down the things that aren't supposed to be working. So if you have a kid go out there and you get 2 repeats in and some kid's puking over the thing, that's because the digestive system just shut down. It sent all its blood that used to be in the digestive system out to the muscles. It can't have anything in there without blood, so it just spits it back out. So your proper warm-up needs to get everything in there. I would suggest about 10 to 15 minutes to ensure that all the body systems that are working are there, and those that shouldn't be are shut down. All right. Now the big thing here is between dynamic and static stretching. All right, the big thing. Everyone wants to do dynamic stretching now. Found out static stretching doesn't stop energy from happening. Got to do dynamic stretching. All right. I will tell you right now, if you're here, you coach distance runners, dynamic stretching won't make your kids faster. All right. Not running a 5K. All right. And this is kind of out of place. This will show you. This is all